Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Kev, your favorite degenerate, and today I wanted to give you all a bunch of tips on how to be an absolute freaking beast when using the Wasp in Halo Infinite. This vehicle is really good to use, it's powerful, and in the right hands you can go on an absolute spree. So let's get right into this and let's go over some of the top tips that I can give to help you get better. So one of the first barriers to you getting good with the Wasp is actually getting your hands on the vehicle itself. I thought I would include this because some of you may not know how to get your hands on this vehicle easily. Of the maps we have available to us so far for Big Team Battle, only High Power has a constant Wasp spawn at the back of each base. Now, when it comes to getting your hands on this thing, it helps if you know when exactly it spawns. So it spawns 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. Every game of Big Team Battle starts with a 15-minute timer, so at 12 minutes and 45 seconds remaining, that's when it spawns. Now, sometimes you can be a bit sneaky and try and do what I did at the start of the game and actually manage to work your way into the enemy base so that you can steal theirs as soon as it spawns. This is a very tricky thing to do because it also kind of depends on the game mode. If you're playing a game like CTF or Stockpile, you may have members of the enemy team going back to their base trying to do the objective, and they may notice you. So you got to be careful of that. And in Slayer, if you push too much and your team is getting demolished, then the spawns may swap and the enemy may be able to still get access to a Wasp because they'll be spawning on where you originally started. After the vehicle's destroyed, it takes a couple of minutes for it to respawn, so the only other way you can get your hands on one is if it is dropped in by a Pelican towards the end of a game. You don't really see this happening much in Slayer or in Stockpile because the games usually don't last long enough for that to happen. But in Capture the Flag, the games sometimes go for a fair bit longer, so you may have a better chance of it with CTF. Alright, so now that you've gotten your hands on one of these bad boys, let's talk about how to get good with it. And let's start off by talking about defense. So right off the bat, let me just say this. The Wasp itself, it can dish out a hell of a lot of damage, but it just can't take any. It is a really fragile vehicle, and I find that it can just take a quick split second, and then bam, your Wasp is now in the bin. So the strategy and how to actually get good at using this thing is in staying alive, because if you can stay alive long enough to keep dishing out that damage, you're gonna be sorted. You're gonna have plenty of kills and you're gonna be able to rack up a good streak. So when you're flying around, there are two things that you gotta watch out for that will be able to kill you really quickly, and that is the enemy team's Wasp, if they have one, and the second one is enemy Spartans that have special weapons that can swat you out of the sky. So the weapons you have to watch out for are the Skewer, Hydra launcher, sniper, and any kind of shock weapon. So there's a lot to be afraid of, but that's okay, because I'm going to tell you all how to deal with that. So for starters, the enemy Wasp. Well, if you can, it would be nice if you could actually get on top of it before it even gets in the air. If the enemy team doesn't know about it spawning at 12 minutes 45 left in the game, you can just go across over to it and destroy it with some rockets before it even gives you any kind of trouble. But if you are trying to fight one of these things in the air, your rockets are going to be your new best friend. The main turret, it just really doesn't do much. You won't notice any kind of significant damage. If you want to take it down, rocket lock-on is the best way to go. It does boil down to very simply hit them and try not to get hit. So when you're trying to do a rocket lock-on, it will do all the hard work for you. You've just got to aim at them long enough for that little red triangle to come up on the vehicle. It will also give a little beeping sound when it's ready to go. So just keep firing those off, but at the same time, try not to get hit. There are probably some of you who are wondering, how the hell do I dodge locked-on rockets? You can. You just have to change your position a hell of a lot in a short amount of time. And in English, that means go up and down really quickly while the rockets are being fired, and they pretty much just curve away. It's really good to use. The other thing you can do is you want to try and drag that enemy Wasp over to your side of the map where the rest of your team is. That way they can help support you and take that thing down. It is really handy if someone from your team does have a good weapon that they can use to take a Wasp down, and that can make your life a lot easier. So there is that as well. Now that we're on the topic of weapons that can destroy this vehicle, let's talk about how you want to watch out for those. So as I mentioned at the start, you want to watch out for anyone with a Skewer, Sniper, a shock weapon, or the Hydra launcher. That's because these weapons are really good at taking down a Wasp. The Skewer can destroy a Wasp in one shot, the Sniper it only takes 3, shock weapons will EMP you, and that just creates a whole bunch of openings for other players to try and take you down. And also there is the big risk of the Hydra launcher, because that thing for some reason it just absolutely demolishes a Wasp. It's so hard to dodge those rockets, it's crazy. But yeah, if you see any signs that someone with that weapon is targeting you, just run away, because they're basically made to counter the Wasp. If you see any of that stuff, just let those people be taken down by the rest of your team. Warthogs also do a reasonable amount of damage, but it's not the kind of vehicle that you want to take on in a head-on fight. What you want to do is let your rocket lock-on do the hard yards, and you just dodge and weave behind cover, so that way they can't shoot you and do as much damage to you. Because if you try and take down a bunch of Warthogs again and again, it's just going to rack up a bunch of damage on you, and you won't be doing all that nice. Alright, so now that you know how to stay alive and how to defend yourself, and basically some of the tricks to make sure that you don't get swatted out of the sky, how do you dish out all the damage to give you the multi-kills, get the big sprees, and just stay alive and just wreck in this thing? One thing that you gotta know is that when they don't have the right weapon to destroy a vehicle, enemy players can't actually hurt you all that much. So you're in a good position. Just take your time, don't freak out, stay calm, and just do one target at a time. Don't try and swap between multiple people, just try and go from one enemy to the next. You want to use your turret to do all of your work when you're taking on just Spartans. Rockets are okay, but it's really difficult to aim that and allow for movement, because a lot of players will be trying to shoot at you and run to cover at the same time, so it can be very tricky to hit your rockets accurately. If there is an objective, that works out really well, because your rockets can be used a bit more then, because the enemy team, they won't be moving around as much randomly. They'll kind of be going towards the objective, like if it's total control or capture the flag and they're trying to return their flag to the base. So that can also create opportunities for you to get a lot of multi-kills with as well. At the same time, when you've got a bit more practice under your belt, then you can try and go into their base a bit and try and be really aggressive, but that can sometimes be a bit of a recipe for disaster. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for some tips on how to be a beast with the Wasp. So I hope you all enjoy the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching the video until the very end. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so we can hit 1K before the end of the year. It's all part of the great journey. So I've been Kiv, and I'll see you all on the next one.